Welcome to the Browns preview show on the Barbershop Network. G.Bush, John Kosko, the game against the Broncos. How'd you feel that the game went, and what was the storylines that you really, hung on to with the Broncos?
They pulled out a win. Obviously, both teams were injured quite heavily, but the Browns were out with their starting quarterback, without their top two running backs, and D'Ernest Johnson had his day in prime time, which was great. And I think the fact that the Browns essentially figured out a way to get a win. It wasn't pretty. Offensively, they kind of moved the ball up and down the field, but then didn't punch it in when they needed to, and then it kind of felt it ended up the score was closer than what it was. So I think it's a good sign. And
he knew he had D'Ernest Johnson. He was hot. He rode the hot hand, and he kept giving him the ball. He fed him the ball. 146 some odd yards. I like to see games like that, and you're going to have games like that in the NFL when you don't have everybody there. He reminds me of a guy like Alvin Kamara, but he's a little more physical. I don't know if I'm crazy with that, but I like the fact that he totally runs different from Kareem Hunt and totally runs different from Nick Chubb. And I think the Browns are in good shape moving forward because they can get yards with him.
Yeah, he's kind of more of a slasher, right? He had the good vision, good contact balance, was breaking tackles, and basically was really just decisive with his vision and cuts. And so he was, the offensive line was blocking it up extremely well. It's their best game blocking, second best game this year, their best game since the Chiefs game, essentially, run blocking. So it helped open up holes. His grade in this game was higher than Chubb or what Hunt has done in any game as a runner, wow, which is kind of impressive there too. So, good for D'Ernest Johnson. He had 90+ grade. And to make his story is an incredible one, and to make on national TV, primetime TV, and to be known in that.
The other big storyline of the game was obviously Case Keenum coming in for Colt McCoy, but that'd be devastating. We really in trouble if Colt McCoy's coming in. But, coming in for Baker Mayfield, I thought he did a really good job of just solidifying, not making too many mistakes. It's just like, he knows the offense. He got rid of the ball. He didn't take too many crazy, huge sacks, didn't have any interceptions. And I think that's just what the game plan is for Case Keenum.
He managed the game well. And in the first game starting in, over a year, especially on a short week like this, it's not an easy one to do. He got rid of the ball about a quarter of a second faster than what Baker Mayfield does, which, a quarter of a second doesn't seem like a lot, but Baker Mayfield was one of the longest time to throws in the NFL of any NFL quarterback. And, at 2.76, which Case Keenum is, that's average in the NFL. And that is the difference between pressure getting to you or a sack getting to you. For me, it looked more calm in the pocket. He he didn't look frantic. He wasn't skittish. And when things weren't quite perfect on the back end for him, and he did a really good job other than that one play.
Browns come out with a victory, one of them victories that we needed to get to. Browns go to 4-3. This week they got the game against a big rivalry game at home, 1:00 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Before we get into that, we want to bring up a new little topic that we got, and it's called 5 Good Minutes. And it's just something that we do so we can kind of, talk about football philosophy and different things, other things here. So in this 5 Good Minutes section, I want to talk about this philosophy, evaluating what position is more valuable. Got Myles Garrett, and he's a number 1 overall pick, but we also have invested 2 number 1 overall picks in the second round pick in Greedy Williams, Newsome, and Denzel Ward. What's more valuable, a dominant rush guy or dominant lockdown corners? And how do you guys in Pro Football Focus evaluate the two? And what do your numbers say as far as the most valuable and starting a roster?
When you talk about the difference between, say, like a team pass rush or the team coverage unit, or an individual versus an individual, when you talk about a team, the more important aspect of the team is your coverage unit for sure. Because, and I would even say on an individual basis, like there's like, you look at Jalen Ramsey over in the Rams, he's a guy that the teams essentially just don't throw at because he's so good. And, you get a shutdown cornerback like that, and Patrick Peterson back in his prime. You've had that with Darrelle Revis on Revis Island, Richard Sherman when he was back in his prime. Teams just essentially avoided that half of the field, and it essentially makes it so you can almost just put that player on an island and roll your coverage to whatever else that the offense is doing. And it allows you to do a lot more in your secondary to really this hinder what the offense is doing. Now, again, the counterpoint to that is, yes, a pass rusher like a Myles Garrett, or, even an Aaron Donald, or who J.J. Watt in his prime.
Yeah.
Those types of guys, they can wreck games for sure. But at the same time, like, if you can't lock it down on the back end, like, there's so many games that we've seen with Myles Garrett where he's just wrecking that offensive lineman, but it doesn't matter if that quarterback is throwing it in 2.2 seconds. Very few far in between plays where a pass rusher will actually win in under 2 seconds to be able to get to the quarterback. It just doesn't happen in the NFL.
Scheme up a lot of stuff to get quick stuff off, like that, screen passes, tight end screens. I've seen so many of them.
Yeah, and so it comes down to your coverage unit to be able to stop that. If you can't have a coverage unit that can essentially lock down the corner, wide receivers for 2.5 seconds, it doesn't allow your pass rush to get there. So you saw it last year. Myles Garrett was playing at an extremely high level last year. He had an 89, 90 type pass rush grade. Pass rush has to complement the coverage. If your coverage can't stop what's happening on the back end, it really doesn't matter. We saw
you had a very fascinating stat in terms of the top 5 or top 10 value positions, or the impact positions, and how many of them were cornerbacks versus defensive ends.
Yeah, so in the top 12, there's only 3 defensive ends in there, and those are T.J. Watt, Khalil Mack, and J.J. Watt. Whereas you got guys like Xavier Rhodes and Bryce Callahan and Jamel Dean that are in the top 12 of just we have a metric at PFF called wins above replacement, and it takes our grades and the production that they get on the field and how valuable that is to their team and what it adds in the win column, essentially. And so this, you look at the top list, you get Joey Bosa at 13, but then the next defensive end, you have to keep scrolling until you get like Chase Young down at 26. So even
when we come back, we're going to drill down on that just a little bit. We want to talk about a couple guys that in our back end that I think are doing an excellent job, and somebody I'm kind of worried about. It is G.Bush, John Kosko, on the Browns Preview Show on the Barbershop Network. Around the AFC North is brought to you by Manscaped. Who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming? Champions of the world, Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family and your jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawn Mower 4. And I'm going to tell you what, this is freaking awesome, guys. Listen, this thing is sleek. This thing is cool. It runs very efficiently. And best of all, it does not cut you where you're most sensitive at. Don't get yourself twisted. This is the barbershop. I would not tell you about something that don't clean you up right. You're going to get the Lawnmower 4. You heard that right, the 4. And you can join over 2 million people worldwide who trust Manscaped with the exclusive offers for you today. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code BARBERSHOP at manscaped.com.
Imagine shaving with a sleek, well-designed, and optimized trimmer that makes shaving time your favorite time in the bathroom. Manscaped engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and an incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It even allows you to customize your trim through additional guard lengths. Man, if you've been shaving with the same nut trimmer on your face, you've been doing it wrong.
Don't do that, man.
Don't do that. You could do it with your face, but if you don't want to mix and match there, so
I'll tell you what,
get yourself a new one.
I will tell you what, one of the things we talk about all the time is with these kind of trimmers and stuff is the cut. I thought, you're kind of apprehensive because I've cut myself before and it hurts whether it's on your face, but it really hurts down there. Also, they do a really good job of coming out with other different products. Right now, this is the crop preserver. If you use deodorant under your arms, why not use deodorant down there? This is clean, it feels effective, and it gives off no residue. That's what we're looking for when you're a big guy as well. And they have a handy dandy spray, which will really help you out as well. This is the Crop Reviver. Keeps you down there, keeps everything smooth and ready to go. And trust me, the significant other will like it. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code BARBERSHOP at manscaped.com. The 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped, and use the code word BARBERSHOP. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Welcome back to the Browns preview show on the Barbershop Network. G.Bush back with you again, John Kosko. Before we went to break, I told you there's a couple people that I'm kind of shaky on. Like I said, I'm an eye test guy. And to me, Newsome and Greedy Williams have both played better than Denzel Ward this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, so Denzel is having his worst season for the Browns so far this year. Typically, Denzel in previous years has given up, around the 50% target rate or catch rate when he's been targeted. This year, that's up at 68%. So his grade is, because of that, is down to a 61.9. He's been basically, as a rookie, was an 83.6 and has been at 72, 73 the past 2 years, which I know 72, 73 doesn't seem like a very high grade, but that's above average in terms of, it's above average and almost good as a cornerback. And that's definitely kind of what you want out of a cornerback in terms of their level of play. And he's just not living up to what we know Denzel Ward has been and is, throughout the rest of his career. So his grade there is lower than Greedy Williams and Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome is at a 70.7, whereas Greedy Williams is a 78.2 so far this year. So
Kosko's PFF grades are brought to you by BetUS.com. Bet with the 3-decade leader, BetUSA.com. Join now for 125% bonus or 200% bonus with crypto. Use the promo code BARBERSHOP and bet sports, casinos, horses, pop culture, and more at BetUS.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.
BetUS has been serving clients for 25 plus years and prides itself on being known as America's favorite sportsbook. With action on every sport across the world, we can pretty much guarantee that we've got your game. BetUS offers the industry's biggest retail bonus to keep our players betting longer. The BetUS loyalty program is legendary. We keep our players up to date with articles, players, teams, stats, and trends, giving you the right tools to make the best wagering decisions.
Make sure you guys check out BetUS.com and use the promo code BARBERSHOP. BetUS.com. Welcome back to the Browns preview show on the Barbershop Network. It's G.Bush, John Kosko. We went around the AFC North, but it's time to get to the nitty-gritty. Let's go behind enemy lines and get to the rivalry game, Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cleveland Browns. For once, John, I think the Browns are coming into this game where even when the stakes are down, the Browns still have the better overall roster. For so many years, we've seen this with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It didn't matter if they had quarterbacks out or Big Ben or Tommy Maddox or whoever they had, Slash, Cordell Stewart. It always seemed like the defense would carry them. They always would find some yards for some receivers. And it's always been the Pittsburgh Steelers have been the cream of the crop and always been the older brother whooping on the younger brother of the Cleveland Browns. I think it changes a little bit in this game and as well as the series, because now the Browns have that roster, even though we have Case Keenum under center. What are your thoughts on this game, and what do you think of the viability of what the Cleveland Browns do best to come out here with a win against the Steelers?
Well, the Steelers, their weakness on their team, actually, from a defensive standpoint, is their run defense. They don't do a very good job defending the run, and we all know what the Browns do really well. So you look at it also too, compare the offense to offense. The Browns, even with bad quarterbacks play so far this year, it was solid to start the year, but it's been basically bad the last 5 games or whatever. They have the number 5 overall offensive grade, whereas the Pittsburgh Steelers are the number 30 in the NFL. So that kind of paints that picture of how much better the Browns team is as a whole. The Browns actually, like I said earlier, they have the number 2 defense in the NFL, whereas the Steelers have the number 4 defense. So it's the run defense is not like we weight the run defense lower because run defense matters less. But if you can't stop the run and you're going up against a team that is like can gash the run and just all they're going to do is step on your throats with the run game, then that's a problem for that team. You have to attack that weakness. So this game sets up extremely well for the Cleveland Browns in terms of what they do well and what the Steelers struggle at doing. And you also talk about it from a from an offense standpoint, from Myles Garrett and company getting after Ben Roethlisberger, they actually have a pretty good pass protection, and this is a game where Ben Roethlisberger is going to get rid of the ball extremely quickly. So 2.2 seconds, 2.3 seconds. So this is going to test that theory of, does pass rush matter more or coverage matter more? If the coverage unit is not going to doesn't play well and struggles in this one, it might actually be a long game, regardless of how good or bad Ben Roethlisberger plays. They have those weapons on this team, so they're going to have to lock it down in the secondary for sure.
You just mentioned it to me from top to bottom. When you look at the receivers, you got Chase Claypool, you got Deontay Johnson, you got all these guys.
Claypool is the most scary, I would say, and then Johnson is like just ultra efficient.
I don't know. Johnson, just if he doesn't drop the ball, I mean,
he's a star. I love him as a player. I was so mad that the Steelers drafted him.
They target the heck out of him too. When you look at the receiving core, they got playmakers. They got playmakers at the receiving core. So that's not something that you can kind of just smirk at. Like you said, their protection has been better than it has been in the last couple of years, keeping Big Ben upright. But one thing that Big Ben does not do the way he used to is push the ball deep. I know the metric has to be crazy on him about his throws over 20 yards or 30 yards down the field.
Yeah, he doesn't push the ball extremely well for sure. So when you look at deep, he's only completing 28% of his passes, 8 of 28. He's only attempted at 11% of the time. And so he struggles in that regard. I think that's just expected. And even the intermediate throws, he's only completing 48% of them. His pass grade there is a 61, and as an NFL rating of a 61. So all of what he does is, he throws almost 70% of his passes behind the line of scrimmage or under 10 yards. So basically under 10 yards, he's throwing 67% of his passes. He just does not push the ball down the field. So most of what you're expecting from him is short, though what you do have to be watch out for the deep ball, because even if he's floating them out there, those playmakers can make some plays on it. So he's also this awful under pressure. He is the worst quarterback under pressure this year. He has a 27.7 grade under pressure. That is terrible.
So that would mean for me, it just seems, Joe Woods would just take a page out of, I don't know, the Justin Fields game plan and just say, hey, listen.
So the difference there, though, is Justin Fields held onto the ball for 3.5 seconds, whereas Ben Roethlisberger is holding on to it for just 2.29 seconds this year. So even though he's terrible under pressure, he's only pressured 22% of the time. So, his grade is still not great from a clean pocket. He's a 72.8 there, which generally a good quarterback is playing at elite level and from a clean pocket. He's just not that anymore. But you have to get, when those deeper shots are called, you have to get pressure on him. And then, like I said, you're just not going to be able to get much pressure on him. So you have to lock it down in the back end.
Let's get to the defense. One of the things that, the Steelers have done for I don't know what it seems like a millennia is they got the same game plan, man. They got the same game plan no matter what, off the bus, what they doing. Off the bus, they don't care if the Legion of 300 led by Leonidas. They blitzing Leonidas. They got TJ Watt. They doing whatever they do. They get an end. They get backers. It is what it is. This game, you got to watch because TJ Watt has eaten consistently. He's made a living sacking Browns quarterbacks. What are some things that they're going to have to do with that to make sure that he don't kill him like that? Because we all know Case Keenum's not a mobile guy. How could the Browns neutralize that pass rush, especially from a guy like TJ Watt?
So one of the things that the Browns did last year in the playoff game against the Steelers was Baker was decisive with the ball and got the ball out quickly. Because if you hold on to that ball so long, that I mean, Cameron Hayward's a stud, TJ Watt's a stud, Melvin Ingram's now over there.
Yeah, I forgot
Those
about him.
guys, those guys all have 82 plus pass rush grades in the NFL. That's just good. That's the top marks, right? Those guys are the only ones essentially getting pressure, but those are three studs that are getting pressure, and they can turn those pressures into sacks. And so I think whatever they did in the game against, in the playoff game where Mayfield was not sacked at all in that game. He was a little lucky on he got out of some pressure looks or whatever, but he was only pressured like I think it was like 50, like under 15% of the time. So getting rid of the ball is key. Knowing what it is that they get into, which is that this is what the thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers, like if you line up in specific looks, what coverage you're going to get and what they're going to be rushing. If you get them into their base package and then you go 5 wide, TJ Watt is going to be not going to be rushing, right? Like he actually goes out there and covers, which is just what they do. And you can get those mismatches and a lot of times they will like, well, we're going to be running 2-man on this play based on your look. And well, I guess this slow linebacker is going to be covering, the speedy wide receiver in the slot. Like that type of thing is what you need to be able to set up against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And it's generally pretty easy to do that, but it's also not at the same time, because what they do is extremely well week in, week out, year in, year out.
Let's get to the X factors of the game. And this is the first time I've actually gone up front and talked about the X factors. But my X factor of the game is Wyatt Teller. And the reason he's my X factor is because you brought up a point. You brought up something earlier off camera, and you were talking about how Wyatt Teller is now back to that road grading Wyatt Teller. He's back to getting the 2-for-1 BOGO, buy one, get one free, on all kind of linebackers, D linemen, safeties. He's equal opportunity. Wyatt Teller is now spearheading the offensive line, and now you're starting to see them run grades get up there. And I think if he can control the line of scrimmage in the middle with Batonio and J.C. Treader, I think the Browns will be ready to go.
Yeah, Wyatt Teller, he's got a 90+ grade over the past 3 games, just back to his soul crushing ways. He's for the season he's up to an 83.4. So I think he's a good choice there. For me, I think the X factor here in this game is essentially Case Keenum for the offense. Case Keenum has to play a good game. He has to be able to avoid negative plays. And then be able to make plays when the plays are there to be had, right? So one of the things that Case Keenum doesn't have is the cannon of an arm that Baker Mayfield does, but he throws with better touch, and he's much more calm in that pocket, and does get rid of the ball quicker than what Baker Mayfield does. So he needs to be able to find those open receivers, recognize what the defense is doing to him, and get the ball out. And I think if he can do that when he is called upon to throw it, when if they need to throw it, he's the one to be able to lead this into victory or not.
Let's get to these defensive X factors. And for me, how's about it's time to dial up a nice little pick six? Can we get some from Newsome? Can we get some from Greg Newsome the third and get it out there and get them interceptions? I think right now, to me, like you said, numbers bear it out, the eye test bear it out. I think Greg Newsome is playing excellent for a rookie. I think you're going to need him in this game. And the Browns need to get a couple turnovers. Last week, we called out your man, John Johnson, and guess what happened? He played a little better than he did, got the interception. This week, I think we're going to need Greg Newsome, Greedy Williams, but more on Greg Newsome to run around with Claypool and some of these receivers for the Steelers, because they still have talent there. And Ben will throw the underneath routes and move the sticks on some of these yards. So give me Greg Newsome on defense. What do you got on defense as far as your X factor?
Yeah, I've been calling out John Johnson for a couple of weeks, and he responded with a much better game in this last one. So I'm going to start calling out Ronnie Harrison, and see if that helps, right? Because last year he had a career year with the Browns. He was a 76.6. His coverage grade was a 74.5. His run defense was a 71. He was just an all-around really solid safety. And this year he's down at a 52.7 overall with a coverage grade of 53. We know the couple of busts that he's had, and he's basically got to stop doing that. He stopped doing that in this past game, but again, he's got to start making some plays in the secondary. He's got to make some tackles. When the run game is there, he's going to be down there fitting run gaps. And he needs to play better. And I think, I talk about secondary being super important, much more important than a pass rush, not much more important, but just more important than the pass rush. And he's got to hold his own back there, because John Johnson can't do it all. And they need to be able to play better. He and Grant Delpit both need to play better, as their running mates. So to me, it's Ronnie Harrison. He's got to step it up in this week.
All right, let's get to our predictions for the game. I think that this game is well within the Browns' purview. They can get this dub. I think that the way the Browns are wanting to play the game is right up the alley of the way that this game can be won. Like you said, the Steelers don't stop the run. The Browns love to run. The Browns, that's their bread and butter. That's what they go to. I think Case Keenum in his second week after getting some live bullets will be much more comfortable. I think he'll work on some plays with Kevin Stefanski that Kevin knows he's comfortable with. They've had 10 days to kind of work on those. And at the same time, you get, Odell a couple, days of rest. You get Jarvis some rest. You already got Jedrick Wills. It looks like Conklin is going to play. Now you have the availability of now slowly but surely look at this offense, and you may even get Nick Chubb back in this game. So now you're slowly but surely getting healthy. And if the defense can get a couple sacks, get some pressure on Ben Roethlisberger, I think the Browns can come out here with a victory. It will be a game that's closer in the end because Ben will put up a touchdown late. But I think the Browns could put up 28 points. I got the Browns 28-21 over the Steelers. What do you say?
Yeah, I think it all depends on Case Keenum, right? So when he was put in as a starter back in 2017, with the Minnesota Vikings, and Sam Bradford got hurt, and they needed to do something there. He came in his first week, wasn't great. He had a 61.6 or 61.1 in this game. And it was actually against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the next week he came out there against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and put up an 88.1. Was just slinging it, had I think 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards. Looks great, and it kind of set the stage for the rest of that season to start off his career year. I think that's what we need to see from Case Keenum. And I think if he can, even if he doesn't put up an 88.1, right, just put up an 80, upper 70s type game, that's going to be good enough to win the game for the Browns. And if he can do that, I think the Browns should be able to win this game 24-14. I think it's going to be, it could be a 10-point game. I don't know if the offense is just not good enough to be able to put up points, and the Browns defense can really step it up. This offense, should be able to just run it out on this team.
All right, let's get to it. Big game this weekend. Let's see if the Browns can go ahead and put 2 together back to back. Don't forget, you can check me out after the post game, and I'll be doing right live after the game ends. Give yourself an opportunity to get instant reaction. And always check us out. Like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys are commenting below. We've had some great comment and some great dialogue with you guys, and we appreciate you liking it and sharing the content. For G.Bush, for John Kosko, this is the Browns preview on the Barbershop Network.